Hi, everyone. John Michael Coppola here, and welcome to the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast, where we chat with the actors, directors, choreographers, designers, producers, music directors, lyricists, playwrights, and all the artists who make the Chicago area theaters come alive. We're so excited to have you here with us today. But before we get started, we just want to remind you to please like, subscribe to, and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues who you think would appreciate the conversations we're having. We'd be so grateful for your support in this way so we can continue to bring these stories for years to come. Thanks again for being here, and now, curtain up on today's episode. Today's guest is the founder of Rose Theatrics, a theater company dedicated to creating meaningful and diverse opportunities for performers across the Chicagoland area while providing high-caliber, accessible theater to the surrounding communities. She is a theater educator, director, producer, and speech coach based in the south suburbs of Chicago and serves as the director of speech and theater at Marian Catholic High School, where she has spent the last decade helping students discover their voices through performance, storytelling, and public speaking. As a director, her work extends beyond traditional theater into competitive performance, where her students have earned multiple top finishes at the Illinois High School Association state finals, including state championships in performance in the round and group interpretation. Particularly drawn to theater that explores human connection, resilience, and personal transformation, through Rose Theatrics, she continues to build spaces where artists can grow, connect, and tell stories that matter. Whether directing a musical, coaching students for competition, or developing new work, she believes the arts have the power to help people better understand themselves and one another. Rose Theatrics' current production of Jagged Little Pill runs July 31st through August 9th. For more information and tickets, please visit the link in our show notes. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Laura Rose Hilger. Now let's go to the top of the show. Hi, Laura. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing so great. Thanks so much for asking. I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. I've been trying to get you on here for the last couple of seasons and it's never worked out. So thanks for joining me here.
I am so happy to be here. So excited that you were able to make this happen.
Listen, we always start the podcast the same way, and our listeners are very familiar with it. We like to ask our guests at the very top of the show to please let us know what your first theater experience was.
Okay, my first theater experience. It's hard to recall my very first theater memory because as far as I can remember, my mom was always saying the hills were alive in the Hilger house. I was blasting show tunes out of my bedroom from the minute that I could choose what music I was putting on.
Fantastic.
But my first time on stage was in a Broadway Junior production of Footloose at the Oak Lawn Park District Broadway Junior program. And I was a little girl. It was in the early 2000s. And I remember from that moment on, just knowing that these are my people. This is what I love to do.
Yes.
It was the first time I felt like everything kind of made sense.
Yeah.
Even though I was in the ensemble, little girl, I had memorized the entire show, every dialogue for every character, every song, just in case they needed little me to step in at a moment's notice. I was prepared. I was ready. But I just remember being there and just feeling like I was around my people.
Oh my God, that's so fantastic. Now, so you said Oak Lawn, so you grew up in the Chicagoland area. We're gonna roll everything back now. Now that we know your first experience, we'd like to find out where you're growing up, your training, your background, all that stuff. So let's move ahead to that now.
Yes, absolutely. So I grew up in the South Chicago suburbs, and that's primarily where all of my theater experience came from, whether it was a Broadway Junior program, teen theater programs, community theater, educational theater at my high school and at my middle school, very much so focused on community-based theater. Then I went on after high school, I went on to University of Iowa, and I did not study theater, but the moment I was done with college, I stayed involved in theater throughout college, but I didn't study it. And the moment I was done with college, I just knew that I needed to dive right back in. I missed it. And so I did.
What did you study in college?
I studied communications and American Sign Language and Deaf Studies.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
ASL is something I have always wanted to learn.
In fact, I got inspired to study that through some of the work that I was doing theater-wise in high school. In high school, I did speech or competitive theater, and one of my scenes was the play Tribes by Nina Rain, and the character Sylvia goes deaf and knows ASL. So I learned it for that role, and I just thought it was so special that I knew that I wanted to continue to study that when I got to college.
Do you interpret for live theater at all?
I don't. My career, I did it because I was so passionate about it. I wanted to learn more about the culture. I wanted to learn more about the language and the community. And I thought, this could be an area that I dive into. But post-grad, I actually accepted the role of director of speech and theater at the high school that I work at now. And that just I just went full steam ahead there. So I never had the opportunity to do any interpreting work, but definitely still have a great love for the culture, the language. And I just think it's beautiful.
That brings up an interesting point. Like we see a lot of ASL interpretive performances for a lot of the larger theaters in Broadway, Chicago. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a world where you can offer those services to community theaters in town and have they could do one of their performances with an ASL interpretation.
That would be really special, and it would add a layer of access that I'm really interested in.
Yeah, even with your own company, we're going to get to that in a second.
Right.
It's kind of hard producing, directing, and being on stage, all the rest of it. So, but it's maybe something to think about. You could pioneer it with Rose Theatrics. So
absolutely.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. That's the inspiration for ASL interpretive community theater performances started right here on the podcast. Right. So let's talk about your job. So you were director of speech and theater at Marian Catholic High School.
Yes.
You help students discover their voices through performance, storytelling, and public speaking. Tell us a little bit about the method you use to help your students find their voice.
Yes. So this is just my favorite thing. I feel every day I'm so lucky that I get to do my passion for my job. And it's a lot of hard work. It is a lot of strenuous hours, but I continue to do it every day because I just love what I do so much. And that is getting to work with the kids, helping them find their voice, helping them build up their confidence, and sending them off into the world, hopefully a little bit more confident and self-aware than they were when I first met them. And that kind of I kind of break that down into 3 different methods or ideas, I guess you could say. Safety is number 1. In the speech and theater world, students don't find their voice unless they feel safe enough to use it, or until they feel safe enough to use it. Sure. So really creating an environment where the young people feel comfortable, feel safe to be exactly who they are as they are. I am introduced to students from various different walks of life at various stages in their development and in their experience with theater, public speaking, performing. And I love that. I love the fact that I don't have a bunch of people who have known for years this is what they want to do. Some people are getting on stage for the very first time or getting into speech for the very first time. So creating a space that is safe for them to just exist is paramount to them figuring out how they want to find and use their voice.
Sure.
That kind of trickles into authenticity is greater than the performance. So I'm less focused in my rehearsals and in my coaching. I'm less focused on teaching the students how to be the most polished performer. Yes, that is important. Those skills do come with time, but that's not my primary focus. My primary focus is helping the young people and the students understand what they want to say, how they want to say it, how they want to feel when they're performing, and how they want others to feel when they're performing.
All important stuff.
We can't control the results, but we can control how we feel and how we want others to feel. Obviously, sometimes we can't control how others feel. Right. But when we can focus on making whatever it is, whether it's a monologue, whether it's a song, whether it's a persuasive speech, how we want others to walk away feeling and what we want people to take away from what we just did, we focus on that a lot. And the third kind of element of that is that failure is just a part of the process. It's not a negative part of the process. It's just a part of the process. Yeah. It's not a matter of when you will fail or if you will fail. It's when, because it happens. But that failure takes us to the moment where we can choose to grow and how we want to choose to grow out of that. And I think that those three things kind of encompass the culture that I try to create, not only at Marian with my speech and theater students, but also anytime I'm interacting with performers or whether it's through Rose Theatrics or any other organizations I may be involved in. I like to focus on those three things.
Now, is there a theater like extracurricular club or something where they're doing performances and productions as well? Mm-hmm. And are you heading that up too?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what shows have you done at the school?
Oh gosh, we've done so many. So we do a play and a musical every year, but then we also do 2 competitive shows a year. So the plays and the musicals are usually the more well-known names, and then the competitive shows are usually adaptations of or cuttings of smaller shows. So for musicals, we have done Shrek, Joseph, Chicago, Little Shop, Footloose, all the crowd pleasers. We love to have fun with our musicals. Our plays, we've done Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, Clue, She Kills Monsters, I'm blanking, but those are just a couple of the plays that we've done. Okay. And then for our competitive shows, we like to dig a little deeper with our competitive shows. So we've done adaptations of Primary Trust, of Moonman Walk. We've taken stories and kind of created our own show based off of a collection of stories we've heard. So we like to do a lot of fun work.
Tell me a little bit about the competitive shows. I don't think I'm familiar with what that is.
Yes. So as a part of the Illinois High School Association speech world, there is competitive theater. So basically it's competitive acting and public speaking, and students will perform monologues, duets, speeches. But then towards the end of the season, when you're competing at the state level, there is a new category that is introduced that's called Performance in the Round. And it is a 15-minute performance where students literally learn how to perform a show in the round. They have judges and audience members on all sides. Wow. So you have to practice, entrances and exits, aisle work, blocking and creating a show that is accessible from all angles, being able to project your voice. There's no microphones or anything. So it's all organic in the moment. Yeah. And that's a really great way to get young students comfortable performing at a higher level because they're with a group. So they have that support of being able to lean on each other, but also knowing that, wow, every time I'm on stage, I'm the center of attention.
Wow.
And then the second competitive event that we compete in is through the IHSA again, and it's called Group Interpretation. Okay. That happens in the spring, and it is essentially a 30-minute cutting of, it could be a play, a book, a movie, it could be original, whatever. There's not really many limitations to what you can do for that script, but it is, you have your students, it has to be 3 or more students, and instead of a traditional theater setting where there's sets and lights and costumes and microphones and sound effects and all that, it is very much so maybe like a step up from readers theater. So there's different set pieces that are universal, and every high school across the state that competes in group interpretation has access to the same set pieces. Oh, wow. And you can rearrange them however you want. There are blocks and stairs. And so you create your own stage picture. And then there's a narrator and an ensemble, and you use your bodies and your voices and your expressions to tell the entire story. There's no set changes. There's no costume changes. Everybody's kind of wearing a neutral or like similar uniform as opposed to a costume. Yeah. And it's really reliant on the storytellers, the emotion, and how they portray the story through their physicality.
Wow. And so that happens twice a year.
Yes.
Those two different competitions.
So yes, group interpretation happens every March, and performance in the round is every February.
And they do these where?
It's through the Illinois High School Association. So performance in the round is lumped in with the speech state world. So that's typically held at the Peoria Civic Center. Okay. That's where state is every year. But with group interpretation, it shuffles which part of the state is hosting the state competition. Okay. So there's sectionals for performance in the round. There's regionals, sectionals, and state, and you have to continue to advance to get to that level. Wow. With group interpretation, there's sectionals and then the state competition.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of preparation.
It is.
It's like the spelling bee, it sounds like.
Correct, for real.
How many kids you have participating in this?
So our group interpretation cast could be anywhere between 12 to 16 students involved in the cast. So there's no rules saying that you have to cap it at a certain amount, but you do have to have at least 3 members. But we found that probably that 12 to 16 range is a good range to have. Yeah. And then we usually have a couple student musicians, and then we get to have student crew members that if we advance to the state level, they travel with us to help rearrange the set and help with our costumes, even though they're more like uniforms.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really special. It's such a unique form of theater that you don't see anywhere else. But I'm really drawn to it because of how simple it is in theory. Yeah. That it's so reliant on those students just giving their heart and soul to the performance. And it's really, really cool to witness students from across the state.
Yeah. And how many schools participate?
I'm not sure how many schools participate across the state, but it is a decent amount.
I had never, as I said, I'd never heard of this type of competition. I mean, I grew up in New York. My school was not a theater school. I mean, it was just a regular public high school. I have to say, since moving to this area, I was pleasantly surprised and continue to be by the amount of art exposure and the support that the arts are given to among a lot of the high schools here. Not just high schools, grade schools, middle schools.
Right.
My son went to school here from K to 8, and the band teacher there was phenomenal. And then that matriculated to Niles North High School, which the bands there were phenomenal. I mean, the more and more I learn about the Chicagoland area schools and how well supported and well funded the arts are, it just makes me confirm the reason that we stayed here, that was the right choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And outside of group interpretation, speaking of accessibility to theater in high schools, there's another, I guess, event that schools could participate in, which is drama contest play. And that's basically like a 45-minute one act where they do the whole shebang: sets, lights, sound effects, costumes, scene changes, all that. And it's so mind blowing every time I watch one of any school perform that. It's just mind blowing how they can get such great work out of young people in such a high stress environment of, hey, this is a competition. We have to do this in a certain amount of time. We have to put up the set in a certain amount of time, strike it. It's just amazing.
Well, I'm so glad to know that that's what you're doing with these kids on the daily, and that it brings you so much joy and inspiration every day. I would love to talk more about maybe some of the inspirational people in your life that were there to encourage you to keep going when you were feeling down at a moment, or anybody who you learned some of your most important lessons from. Anybody that comes to mind?
Yeah, a couple people actually. First, I would be crazy not to say my parents, because they have been the reason why anything I've done is possible. Yeah. They maybe were a little nervous when my passion started leading closer and closer to the arts and theater. And okay, well, how are we going to, we want to make sure that you can be successful and that you can provide for yourself. But everything that I do would not be possible without their help. They are the most supportive people. They are the backbone behind everything that I do. And even though they're not familiar with the theater world, they don't know anything about it, they have learned, and it doesn't really matter if they know about it or not, because they have just, anything that I've needed them to dive into, they dive right in. They're at every show that I've ever been in or have directed or produced or anything. They're always there. They're there to hear me vent, to give me advice if I need it or whatever. They're just incredible.
So good. What do they do? What do they do for in their lines of work? Or did they do if they retired?
Yeah. So my mom is a microbiologist and my dad is in the mortgage banking industry.
Wow. So different than theater for sure.
Yes. So my world is very foreign to them. As are their worlds foreign to me.
Sure. But the fact that they're so super supportive of you nonetheless is really wonderful to hear.
I mean, since I was in high school, they are the box office, the split the pot people, the concessions. Like they will be right there doing everything that they can.
So great. Yay, mom and dad.
Yes.
Thanks
but then
much.
In an artistic standpoint, I would say definitely a huge role model of mine growing up is Erica Heilman. She basically, her and a couple other people were in charge of the Broadway Junior program that I grew up every summer performing in. And then that became the teen program where I would spend every winter with them doing shows. And Erica was just such a special person. She knew how to make you feel safe, how to make you feel loved, and to know that you do have a place on the stage. And I loved that. I loved just getting to be at a rehearsal, getting to watch her work, getting to watch her interact with the different cast members and the other, anyone who's on production. And she really just had a wonderful way of making you feel like this was home. And, I remember a time I was in high school and we were at a rehearsal, and I want to say the rehearsal was it might have been on like a Thursday or a Friday night. I don't remember the exact day, but it was before anything had started and we were all just sitting in the theater, and she was talking to us and she said, this is my favorite day of the week when we are at rehearsal, because I know for the 2.5 hours that we're in rehearsal, you are in a space that you are loved and safe. And I heard that and I was like, yep, I want to do that. Like, I want to make sure that other people have that feeling. And that has stuck with me till today. It's still with me. I heard it over a decade ago, and it's still something that is just very, very profoundly in the top of my mind.
No doubt. And I'm sure that's the mindset you bring to Rose Theatrics. So I do want to talk about Rose Theatrics a little bit, because as I like to say here on the podcast, when I talk to guests, starting a theater company is not for the faint of heart. So what in the world made you want to just venture into that world with all different community theaters and storefront theaters, the Chicago theater landscape at large? There's so much out there. What made you want to throw your hat in that ring?
So I definitely didn't start it because I thought it was going to be easy or profitable.
Good.
But honestly, I started it because there were stories that I wanted to tell, and there were communities that I wanted to build that I didn't feel existed yet in my little pocket of the world. Okay. And if it didn't exist, I wanted to make it exist. So with a lot of delusion and a lot of people that just really trusted me, we were able to create something really special. And
this is your second year or third year?
This is my third year.
Third year. Okay.
So we started, our first show that we did was Rent. And then last year we did Beautiful, and this year we're doing Jagged Little Pill.
Yeah, which I want to talk about. So another community theater just did that show as well.
Yes.
I actually had gotten the two confused when Bob reached out to me to have you on here, because I knew an actress in that other one, even though I didn't get a chance to see it. And I was like, oh yeah, I know something. He goes, no, that was the other one. This is probably one. I said, oh, okay, gosh, sorry, I forgot about that. So what made you decide to do Jagged Little Pill this season?
Yeah, so Like I said, I'm drawn to stories that are vulnerable. I'm drawn to stories that maybe other people are more hesitant to tell, whether it's they're trying to please season ticket holders or whoever they need to please when picking show titles.
Yeah.
And with Rose, I really get the artistic freedom to tell stories that I want to tell. So this story in particular, I feel like theater gives us language for experiences that we struggle to articulate in our daily lives. Okay. So Jagged Little Pill focuses on exploring themes of trauma, identity, addiction, family complications. It's a real pick me up, but no, it does have its great moments. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It's relevant to young people. And overall, I really enjoy the idea that healing isn't linear and life isn't perfect. And this show really emphasizes that in a way that I just enjoy getting to dig into that type of content.
Healing is not linear. I have never heard it put in that context.
Yeah.
And I really love that phrase.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. Yeah. Life is so messy. There's so many things that are constantly going on, and there are great moments, there are rough moments, and it's all a part of the journey.
All right. I have another question for you. If Rose Theatrics had a slogan, what would that be?
Yes. If Rose Theatrics had a slogan, unofficially, but this is kind of my motto that I have tended to go off of for the past few years, is I just want to do cool shit with cool people.
That's fantastic. And your teacher would be very proud of you to know that you're creating a safe space where people can come do cool shit with the cool people.
Absolutely.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Tell everybody where you're operating out of, where Jagged Little Pill will be, the dates, where they can go to get tickets.
Yes, absolutely. Jagged Little Pill with Rose Theatrics will actually be held at Marian Catholic High School, which is in Chicago Heights. It is the first 2 weekends of August, and tickets are available on rosetheatrics.com.
And as usual, we will have a link to that in our show notes. So anybody can click on there and go right to Rose Theatrics website for them. I'd like to know what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in your career, both as an educator and as a performer and as a producer and as a theater, a company protege, all those things. Any big lessons?
Yes. The first thing that comes to mind is you cannot be the person who tells yourself no. There will be plenty of people who tell you no. There will be plenty of people that tell you you can't do it, you shouldn't do it for all of these reasons. But you should not be one of those people. If you have an idea, make it happen. If you don't see an opportunity, create it, because there's so much opportunity out here in the world to follow your passion, to do what you want to do, that there's enough people trying to push you down. Don't be one of them.
Yeah, I love that. And we often forget that as well, because it's an industry full of no's all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And know-it-alls, honestly. Right. People who will tell you what you need to do and how you need to do it. And sometimes you need to just shut them all out and
trust your gut and do it. Yeah. I would also say then decide what success means to you. What success means to you is very different than what success means to the person sitting next to you. So decide what that means to you and then do what you have to do to make that happen.
Love that. Thanks very much for sharing that as well.
Absolutely.
So now you grew up in the area and you've been on both sides of the stage, but I'm curious, this is the Chicago Theater Makers podcast. So I always like to sometimes ask this question as well. Are there any Chicago theater experiences where you sat in the audience and you witnessed it, and to this day, it's still one of your favorite experiences?
Yes, absolutely. This is more of a recent, within the last 5 years, but definitely I would say that seeing Next to Normal at the Paramount, they did it at the Copley Theater, and I had a friend and former student that was involved in the production, and so I went to go see her perform in it, and I went three more times, and every single time I saw it, I just sobbed, and it was so beautiful, so simple, and just, again, focusing on what I love, the part of storytelling that makes you uncomfortable because it's so real, and just so honest. And it was just a reminder that you don't need a million bells and whistles. You don't need big dance numbers and flashy lights to make people feel inspired. And yes, it was a phenomenal production. Absolutely.
And that was only a few years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It maybe was like 3 or 4 years ago.
What are some future goals for Rose Theatrics? Any plans for next season yet, or is it stuff you can't talk about?
Yes. Well, I'm not sure what shows we have in store for our future, but I always like to tell, interesting stories. So that is definitely something to keep an eye out for. I would love to get to a place where we could do more than one show per season.
Sure.
But we're still a baby and we have limited resources, limited people involved. So I do want to see Rose Theatrics grow and create different, diverse opportunities for all of the incredibly talented people that we have in the Chicagoland area, whether that's performers, musicians, technicians, any type of creative. I want to continue to assemble some really awesome people and see where we can have Rose grow.
That's fantastic. And, I know there's a big popular idea of a lot of theater companies to do like a fundraising cabaret, or like a holiday cabaret, and as a way to raise funds as well. Any thoughts to do something like that?
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be super cool.
All right.
I would be very interested in that.
Yeah,
Thanks for the idea.
Let's talk offline, see if we can make that happen.
Absolutely.
Laura, where can people find you on social media?
Absolutely. You could find me at Laura Rose Hilger on Instagram, or at Rose Theatrics. Those are my two main profiles. Excellent.
Anything else you'd like to mention before we wrap up?
I would just encourage people to continue being good people. This industry is really hard, so just stay true to you, and be good to those around you, because it's a lot more fun doing this with good people.
Agreed. Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me here. I really appreciated our conversation.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope to get out to see Jagged Little Pill.
Oh, I'd love that.
Thanks for joining us at the Chicago Theater Makers Podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. The Chicago Theater Makers Podcast is a production of Spirit Art LLC, and our podcast theme music is by Paul Langford. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the podcast, please drop us a note at our website, ChiTheaterMakersPodcast.com. That's ChiTheater, makers with an S, podcast.com. We hope you enjoyed spending time with us as much as we enjoyed spending it with you, and we'll see you on the board soon.